Oriental models have for too long held sway in the UK pickup truck market, a state of affairs that Volkswagen is looking to change. Having established itself as a purveyor of 4x4 passenger cars, the German brand is looking to cross over into the off-road commercial vehicle market with its Amarok pickup. Big, economical and very capable, Volkswagen's off-road load-lugger will give the Japanese contingent a few sleepless nights. Pickup sales may have taken off in Europe over the last decade or so, but the vehicles themselves have come almost exclusively from the Far East. Japan dominating the market with Mitsubishi's L200, Nissan's Navara and Toyota's Hilux, leaving Ford a few scraps to hoover up with their Thai-built Ranger. So what kind of pickup would a European brand design? How would it be different? In this Volkswagen Amarok, we have our answer. The name apparently means wolf in the Eskimo Inuit language, and there's precious little sheep's clothing around this one, with styling and a substantial ladder chassis intended to suggest this vehicle to be as tough as they come. Now, Volkswagen's track record in offering pickups is really limited to an embarrassing period in the 80s when it tried to sell something called the Taro, little more than a rebadged Toyota Hilux. But the German brand does have experience in all-wheel drive that goes all the way back for commercial vehicles to the LT1 4x4 of 1983. And it's this experience that's been put to good use with this Amarok, which is built at the company's Pacheco factory in Buenos Aires, Argentina for worldwide sale. But make no mistake, though the production lines it rides upon may be South American, this design is a very European take on pickup motoring. From the way that it drives to the feeling that you get behind the wheel, this is claimed to be the most car-like vehicle of its type ever made. Potentially then a perfect solution for SUV buyers who need the greater practicality of a pickup. Now, I'm quite sure that Volkswagen is capable of producing a design that looks just like a pickup but handles just like a car. The problem is that such a thing would inevitably be absolutely feeble when it came to the kind of heavy-duty work that vehicles like this must take in their stride. For the kind of heavy payloads associated with that kind of thing, you need a tough ladder frame chassis and a solid leaf-sprung rear axle, both of which bring an inevitably rather utilitarian feel. And within the confines of this approach, I think the Wolfsburg engineers have really done rather well in making this vehicle as car-like as it reasonably could be. For a start, it rides better than anything else in this class, to the point where it's not too far off the standards set by some older SUVs, Mitsubishi Shogun for instance. The same applies to refinement, which is good enough to complement the very car-like feel of this cabin. It's a pity though that the same can't be said of the rather clunky long-throw gear change, this 6-speed gearbox. That's not very car-like at all, and it would be enough, were I a buyer, to make me want to talk to my local dealer about the automatic transmission also developed for this pickup. There's nothing wrong with the available performance though, which might come as something of a surprise given the news that at 2 litres in capacity the TDI engine is somewhat smaller than the 2.5 or 3 litre diesel units commonly available from rivals. And that's something of a worry given that at over 2 tonnes in weight this is one of the heaviest vehicles in its sector. But there's no cause for concern. This 2-litre TDI is designed to lug about much heavier commercial fare than this, and even in entry-level 122 PS form develops a healthy 340 Newton meters of torque, which is one reason for the very useful 2,690 kilogram maximum braked trailer towing capacity. Now, most UK buyers will be going for the Pokia 163 bhp bi-turbo TDI diesel that I've got here. Now, this is a twin-turbo engine rather than the single-turbo that you get in the base model. And the 400 Newton meters of torque that's generated is enough to power it to 60 from rest in just 11.1 seconds. That's nearly 3 seconds quicker than the base variant, on the way to a top speed of 112 miles an hour. Now try and use all that performance on a twisting country road, and as with any pickup, you'll need to be a bit circumspect, especially as with me here, you're travelling unladen. But there's reasonable feedback through the meaty 3-spoke wheel that enables urban wheel twisting around a fairly tight turning circle for a pickup anyway of 12.95 metres. Handling is essentially predictable, which is all you can ask of a vehicle of this kind. Now, if that isn't good enough and you're really looking for an SUV pretending to be a pickup, then your dealer will probably point you towards the top spec version with so-called comfort suspension allied to a permanent four-wheel drive system able to automatically adjust itself to the prevailing road conditions. But many Amarok customers will be people wanting to mix heavy-duty work with occasional off-road use off the beaten track, which is why the majority of this Volkswagen's lineup is based around a selectable 4Motion four-wheel drive system and a heavy-duty version of the leaf-sprung suspension setup. That's the model that I'm testing here, where I've got the option to switch out of the standard rear-wheel drive setup using these buttons by the gear lever. Now, all-wheel drive is the first option, and that should be fine for slippery on tarmac use or most light off-road activities. But if things should get really sticky, I can further push the arrow button to get into low range, where I'll be aided by an electronic differential lock that should aid traction in all kinds of conditions. There's the further extra cost option of a mechanical rear differential lock, and but even with that not fitted with the right tyres, you'd be amazed by what this Amarok could do. Thanks to 265mm of ground clearance, this vehicle can wade through rivers of up to 500mm in depth. And thanks to a 28-degree approach angle, it can go up an incline of up to 45 degrees with a hill holder clutch to help you on the way up. Once you've crested the incline, you can have the benefit of hill descent control down the other side. It'll keep the vehicle at a constant speed. And once you reach the bottom, there's a very helpful departure angle of 23.6 degrees. I also like the clever way that the ABS has been tuned for off-road use to reduce stopping distances. Pickup drivers tend to be people wanting a degree of road-going presence, in which case they should find little cause for complaint with this Amarok. Yes, it's true that the lines are distinctively Volkswagen, but there's little of the usual conservatism we've come to expect from the Wolfsburg company's design department. The shape is chunky and feels solidly planted on the ground, with cleanly sculpted bonnet curves and a large Volkswagen emblem and front grille with clear horizontal lines linking them together. For me, though, the most memorable part of this vehicle is the experience you get when sitting inside. This is a pickup, for goodness sake. You're supposed to have brittle plastics and utilitarian design, instead of which you get neat switchgear, clear instrumentation, a lovely reach and rake adjustable 3-spoke steering wheel, and soft touch plastics lifted straight from Volkswagen passenger cars. It's rather like being in a Golf on stilts, and the whole experience will feel rather surreal if you come to this pickup from an older rival in this class. It's practical in here too, with large bins in all the doors that'll hold a 1.5 litre bottle of drink in the front and a 1 litre bottle in the rear. There's a lidded bin, twin cup holders between the front seats, a compartment for your sunglasses, a lockable glove box, and on most models, drawers under the front seats. The only really ergonomically jarring touch is this ashtray holder, which projects from the passenger side of the fascia, which looks a bit like an aftermarket add-on. In the rear, the extra width of this vehicle makes it easier to accommodate up to 3 adults, though 2 will obviously be more comfortable. And most trim levels offer these cup holders for their use. Now, if the rear bench isn't needed and you want to free up extra storage space, then the backrest folds forward. Now, you never expect a Volkswagen, not even one built in Argentina, to be priced at the bottom end of its sector, and that's certainly not the case here. But most will find the Amarok asking figures to be reasonable. Builders and farmers can talk to their dealer, which will need to be their local Volkswagen van centre rather than the local Volkswagen car showroom, about a stripped out entry-level single cab model. But most UK buyers will be looking at the double cab body style that we have here. Excluding the dreaded VAT, which businesses will be able to claim back on all variants with a payload of over 1,000 kilograms. That means all Amaroks bar the priciest permanent four-wheel drive variant. So excluding that VAT, you're looking at a starting figure of around £18,000 for the entry-level 122 PS Amarok model. That's a little bit more than you pay for an equivalent Ford Ranger, and about £1,500 more than you pay for the least expensive double cab version of the least powerful models in the Mitsubishi L200 and Toyota Hilux ranges. But I would have thought most UK buyers will want to pay the £1,000 premium that Volkswagen asks to graduate from a 122 PS Amarok to the 163 PS bi-turbo TDI model that I've been looking at here. Now, this compares very well to its rivals. It's priced in the £19,000 to £23,000 bracket, which is about the same as you pay for equivalent versions of not only the L200, the Ranger and the Hilux, but also Nissan's more powerful 190 PS Navara. Some careful pencil chewing will be required if you're to select the right Amarok for your likely lifestyle. Now, most buyers will very quickly discard the entry-level single-cab rear-wheel drive model in favour of the double-cab 4Motion all-wheel drive variants that we're really focusing on here. But from then on, it's a case of deciding what your likely road-going use is going to be. Now, most owners will want to do a mixture of hard work and leisure activities with their Amaroks. And for that reason, most of the range is built around a selectable 4Motion all-wheel drive system with heavy-duty leaf springs. But Volkswagen is mindful that buyers of the top-spec leather-lined model may well be wanting a more car-like driving experience, which is why this variant alone comes with comfort leaf springs and the kind of permanent four-wheel drive system that you get in a luxury SUV, able to react automatically to changing road conditions. Equipment levels, of course, depend on the trim designation you have in mind, but whether you choose the entry-level 122 PS 2-litre TDI or this 163 PS bi-turbo TDI model, you should find that all Amarok models come reasonably equipped with most of the basics. That means alloy wheels, daytime running lights, climatic air conditioning, all-round power windows, power heated mirrors, 12-volt power socket. You can also expect to find a decent quality CD stereo and a Thatcham Category 1 alarm and immobiliser. Plusher models add things like cruise control, a trip computer and front fog lights. Going upwards on sharp inclines, there's a hill holder clutch to stop you from drifting backwards, whilst going down the other side, there's hill descent control to keep the vehicle at a steady speed. And of course, there are plenty of options, including a lockable toolbox designed to fit across the load space, a choice of tonneau covers, and a complete matching hardtop designed to enclose the entire load area. Now, were this vehicle to be mine, I'd want to specify the rear parking sensors that really should be standard on plusher versions of a vehicle all of 5.2 metres long. And if I were to be going regularly off-road, I'd also want to tick the box for the mechanical rear differential lock and the underbody protection kit. Safety kit includes ESP stability control, ABS brakes, brake assist and traction control, all programmable with off-road settings. If you brake heavily from high speed in an emergency stop, the rear hazard flashers will activate to warn following motorists. If you're towing a heavy load, there's a clever trailer stability system that will stop the load from weaving about. And if all of that fails to prevent you from having an accident, there are twin front, side and curtain airbags, plus Isofix child seat fastenings. Right, down to brass tacks. Just how practical is this Amarok going to be if you have a hard life in mind for it? Well, let's drop this sturdy rear tailgate down and see. The headline news is a 2.52 cubic metre loading volume, which is almost twice what you get in an equivalent Toyota Hilux, all of which might encourage you to make full use of the hefty payloads on offer, between 1,064 and 1,119 kilograms for selectable four-wheel drive models, depending on the variant that you choose, with a high rear axle load limit of 1,860 kilograms. The payload drops to just 750 kilograms if you opt for the top spec permanent four-wheel drive variant, and that's enough to stop businesses being able to claim back the VAT on the asking price. Those who are looking to carry heavy payloads may be a bit irritated that they can't drop this tailgate vertically because of the presence beneath it of this chrome bumper with its integrated step. But at least the loading height isn't too far from the ground, it's 780 millimetres up. The gross vehicle weight is 3,170 kilograms for selectable 4Motion models, but that falls to 2,820 kilograms if you go for the top spec permanent 4Motion version. Get your cargo into the load bay and that extra load space volume really pays dividends. You can, for example, carry a Euro pallet sideways as well as in its normal position, something that just isn't possible in any other pickup of this kind. That's thanks to a load space length of 1,555 millimetres and a load space width of 1,620 millimetres that narrows to 1,222 millimetres between these wheel arches. There's 508 millimetres of load space height. A light on the back of the cab illuminates the load area at night, plus there's a 12-volt power socket and 4 tie-down points to stop your cargo from moving around. I'd also want to specify the protective load area cover that I've got here that's supposed to be resistant to chemical spillages as well as to scrapes and scratches. And running costs? Well, this is the only pickup in the class to use 2-litre diesel power rather than a 2.5 or 3-litre unit. As a result, the 122 PS Amarok is the only pickup able to get under the 200 grams per kilometre of CO2 barrier, though only just at 199 grams per kilometre, while this 163 PS bi-turbo TDI Amarok manages 209 grams per kilometre. Official figures suggest that this pickup enjoys less of an advantage over its rivals when it comes to combined cycle fuel consumption. The 122 PS model returning 37.2 miles to the gallon, with this 163 PS variant managing 35.8 miles to the gallon. To put those statistics in perspective, they mean that you'll probably get 2 to 3 more miles to every gallon than you would in an equivalent version of an obvious rival. And with the 80-litre fuel tank, that means an operating range of around 600 miles. There's also the potential to save on maintenance costs, at least if you opt to fill your engine with pricey, long-life synthetic oil. Now, this enables the vehicle to monitor its usage in terms of service intervals and to space those intervals out if that usage is fairly light to as much as 25,000 miles if you're really not using your Amarok very much. If you fill the engine with ordinary oil, then you'll be stuck with the normal 12,500 mile service intervals. The standard warranty is 3 years or 100,000 miles with pan-European roadside assistance cover for the duration. You get 3 years of paintwork cover and a 12-year body warranty. Pickup users aren't necessarily expecting their cars to be advanced, car-like and fuel efficient, but most would be very pleased if they were. And these are people that should get themselves behind the wheel of a Volkswagen Amarok. It's true that in the plush car-like cabin you do have nagging doubts as to whether this vehicle will really be as durable in the long term as its Asian rivals. But these are concerns that your local Volkswagen van centre will be quick to try and play down, pointing to this vehicle's development in the Patagonian wilderness and its use on the tough testing Paris-Dakar rally. This aside, the only real issues are those common to all pickups, essentially centring around a utilitarian on-tarmac feel. And this is less of an issue in this Amarok than it is in any other rival model. Now, limited UK numbers mean that Volkswagen isn't going to be threatening its Oriental rivals' market dominance just yet, but in terms of product excellence, it should certainly give them plenty to think about. At last, we Europeans have shown the Far East something it can learn from.